Hi, Scott Blevins, Global Executive Relationship Manager in the West here at Ultimate. I've got 12 really cool customers that are, most of them are high tech, but I have the largest brand names out in the West. And my customers are always moving and trying to do more with Ultimate. So I've had some experience with our UTA, our WFM, and our UTM solutions over my 5 years here. To our conversation, Lisa. Yeah, I wanted to share kind of what I'm seeing here and kind of challenges and opportunities as we're looking to get more customers on live and successful with WFM, both the software and the newer clocks. I think the primary challenge right now is that for a UTA customer, a lot of them picked UTA because they had some pretty complex, robust needs that required customization. And we right now, we're not in a position to be able to do a full migration of what they've done. It would be essentially a re-implementation if they're coming from UTA. And the depth of functionality in both scheduling and shift management and access controls for different layers of users and managers. So maybe somebody has the supervisor or the manager for a team might be the one that administers their people's time, but they also might have a site administrator that's responsible for addressing all the hourly employees in a particular location. And there's not enough granularity in the different roles and access levels currently in WFM for that to be a possible route for this customer. I would love to be able to get more customers with all common clock hardware on the new host, and have customers that are outgrowing UTM from a size standpoint, like Blue Shield and SpaceX. They both have more than 5,000 people, and UTM has more than hit the speed wobble point where it's not as fast and effective as it once was. I think it's more about, like, are we ready? Are we past feature parity? And can we provide a full migration where they keep the history from their prior time cards and records, and get the better UI and the more modern capabilities we built in.
My name is Eric Morgan. I am the Clock Launch Activation Team Lead here at Ultimate Software, and we pretty much help clients get their clocks up and running from the time that they order the clocks, assign a clock consultant until they are transitioned to the system. Issues from the time that clocks arrive, just depending upon the model that they have. A lot of times when we talk to the project team, the information doesn't really make it down to the individual locations where the clocks will be arriving. So a lot of times the locations don't know what their next step should be, or don't know if they're able to go ahead and connect the clocks. Each box that is sent should have instructions in the box for them to follow, but they don't always. They may not always see them, or they may get disregarded by accident. So if we could add like a QR code or something that would on the box that would tie them back to some like instructions online, where we can say, hey, well, here's your next 3 steps: connect, contest, notify, something like that, just so that there's no way that the end user can be lost, as opposed to what their next few steps should be. When we get to data verification, the biggest complaints we see here, or the biggest issues we see here, is clients not knowing either that they need to upload the employee badge numbers or where to upload them. The badge numbers is a field that can literally pretty much be any number that the client chooses, whether that ties to a physical badge, or they are just replicating the employee number, or they're assigning a specific or custom badge number. So like we've had clients that would assign social security numbers or stuff like that to the employees as badge numbers. The thing is, these numbers have to be unique. And for whatever reason, when you do an import, you can get around the safeguard that is supposed to keep the badge numbers unique. And if we have duplicates, it causes issues during the testing phase. During the training and testing is where we will normally reach out to the clients once they get their clocks. And what we ask them to do is twofold. So first things first, we're going to schedule a training meeting or like a working session with the client. And if there's any way that we can find some kind of improvement around that, that would be great, because that'll save my guys some time from having to keep going back and forth and renegotiating times, trying to find a perfect time slot. During the training, we go ahead and give the clients access to their host, review the host with them, try to get them up to speed and provide any documentation that they would need to kind of support the training that we give them. And then we give them a couple of next step actions, which should be to do what we call initial testing, which is basically connecting the clocks to the network and power and making sure that there's no communication issues. Once we get past initial testing, then we ask them to confirm that their configuration and make sure that there are no issues or no problems with that. If there are any issues or problems, they let us know, and we go ahead and get those issues resolved or updated. And then the last piece is just having them do some kind of pilot or encouraging the client to do some kind of pilot. So where they're taking either a small group of employees or a couple of employees and just testing the system from exception of the actual punch to it actually falling through onto the employee's timesheet, just to make sure that if there are any rules either on our side or on the time side, that they've all been approved, and then make sure that they are working as they see fit, so that we can make any adjustments prior to a ton of their employees starting to look at the system. So the issues with the testing phase are clocks not communicating from the client's network to ours. The clock launch consultants will help them troubleshoot those particular issues and try to get those resolved. We see a lot of data issues where either employees are not assigned to the correct role, assigned to the correct groups, or maybe they don't have a badge number assignment, or there's duplicate badge numbers in the system. That, like, when you have duplicate badge numbers, you can enter in one employee's number, but another employee's name will pop up, and you'll be sending time to that employee's timesheet. And that's one thing we definitely want to try to avoid at all costs. Go live is just go live. It's either going to be really, really smooth, or it's going to kind of be hectic. And it's going to all depend on the amount of preparation that was done in the training and testing phases. We're actively assisting the clients to resolve any issues that may have arisen. So if there's any duplicate punch issues that we did not resolve during testing, we go ahead and resolve those. Any communication issues, any anomalies, we work with the client and the internal OT Pro team to try and mitigate or resolve any problems or issues that come up or we may see may be an issue in the future. As far as pain points from here, it's just pretty much a communication thing, trying to get as much information from the client as possible so that we can quickly turn around the troubleshooting. But a lot of times clients just say, oh, it doesn't work, but we don't know what doesn't work. We don't know, what are the example employees? What happened when you did it? What processes were they going through? So it's mostly just trying to collect that information so that we can try to replicate and resolve the issue. Sometimes we can pull logs. So like we'll have clients say, oh, the clocks aren't communicating, but we'll see it on our side and we'll try to rectify what they're seeing as opposed to what we're seeing. A lot of clients just know they have a clock, but don't know that there's a name associated with the clock. So we'll be troubleshooting one thing, but they're looking at another device, and just trying to getting on the same page with the client is pretty much where we have the most issues during this particular phase. And then once we're on the same page, we can kind of try troubleshooting through it and try to get it up to date, get it up and running. For the clock side of things, the biggest issue as far as transitioning is just being at the table during transition, a lot of times we end up holding on to clients a lot longer because we were not notified that product transitions, and of course we can't transition until product transitions. And that's one of the initiatives that we are trying to set in place to start having my team, the guys on my team, to be able to join these transition calls so that we can kind of all at once give the client a better experience of, hey, okay, you were with this activation team and now everything is transitioning over. Here's the parts that we will own. Everything new should go to support. Because right now it's kind of fragmented. So product will transition, but then the clients will still be coming to us directly for clock issues. We never know that project transitions, or we never follow up on and see that if product has transitioned, then the client will start trying to push other issues to us because they have a dedicated person that they know they can reach out to. I feel like I feel like it should be a part of either WFM or the OT Pro experience, just because, you know, you don't want to give the clients a URL that they can potentially lose. So you're giving them this whole suite of features that they could like possibly take advantage of, but then you're telling them, oh yeah, you got to keep control of an entire URL with a separate username and password. Excuse me. So sometimes we see certain clients don't use it at all just because they don't want to go through the hassle of having to keep up with the 2 passwords, keep up with their normal login, and having to have this as a secondary login. So integrating the host into either OT Pro or WFM would be great, so that just is a single sign-on experience throughout the system. Plus, it will give them better management of who has access to the host. Instead of having to, because right now what you have to do is you're managing a static page. So you have to come in here, and every time you want to add somebody else to this particular page, instead of just adding them to a group and saying you automatically get access, they have to come in here and create a user or share users between departments. One would definitely be being able to change network information from the clock system itself. So you can see the network details, but you cannot edit it from here. That's a request we get from customers a lot. You know, is it possible to edit IP information from the system? Otherwise, the only way for you to actually edit this information is to physically go to the clock, sign in, and change it on the clock, and it'll update here so you can just tell what is actually assigned to. Another change that I would ask for would be better management of the tokens. So you have 2 types of tokens that for web clock that the clients can use. You have IP authentication, which basically authenticates it via a public IP address. And you have token authentication. Both of these have some slight flaws that I would want to adjust. For IP authentication, it's mostly just management. In order for you to add an IP address to the system, you have to go to admin and IP addresses. And this is where like all the IP addresses actually live. But in order for you to assign it to a clock, you have to come out of this page and then go back to the individual clock and assign it, instead of just being able to have like a drop down list here. Like they kind of already have the pieces here, and I should just be able to hit add and then just add whatever clocks I want to it. It would just make the management a little bit easier. As far as token, the biggest issue with token is once you clear the token from the device, the authorized device, there's no way for them to automatically get a new one. Someone physically has to come back into the host and reissue them a token, which can become extremely irritating if you have a location where they have to clear the cache several times a day. Normally in those situations, we try to avoid using this particular authentication type, but sometimes you can't because the client really wants to use the web clock and has no other way to control their networking. The last thing would be better management of these rule sets. So in WFM today, I don't think there is a way for you to manage the assignment of rule sets through WFM. And the rule sets are basically what the time consultants would call your lockouts or your validations. So meal lockouts, schedule lockouts, double punch prevention, all that kind of stuff. We can do that from the host now. However, if all the employees across the board aren't assigned to the same rule, then it's a manual update every time they add a new employee in. So we can get them started by doing a primary import for them. We can create the rules, have them assign the employees to the correct rules using a spreadsheet, and then we can upload it for them. But every additional employee that they add to the system, if they're not being assigned to the default rule, they have to be manually updated. And I think the only system where this is not an issue is UTA, but UTA will only do one other assignment.